Hey everybody, this is Andre Furneman. Hope everyone's doing well. This is another tech update focusing on shop floor security. Really having a look at the TXONE family, which we use quite to great effect in our service offering as Datacentrics. When we take customers through the visibility, zero trust, and PLC automation journey, we're always looking for vendors or OEMs that plug the most amount of gaps in all three of those go-to markets. And TX1 really does that for us, from a firewall perspective to IPS to a manager of manager, and then data management on the shop floor, and then also the portable inspector that you can use to actually do offline scanning. So really funky technology, and we're going to go through it a little bit and see if I can tell you a little bit more about how the technology works. Down below, I've put a link to my LinkedIn profile. I've written a fair amount of articles in regards to OT remote access, shop floor management from an asset inventory perspective, cyber visibility, and many more other topics. So please go have a look when you've got time, and hope you enjoy the content. First of all, from a holistic industrial management perspective, customers are going through their digitization process, making shop floor more digital, adding IoT, adding industrial IoT. PLCs are becoming more modern, better network interfaces through TCP, and also probably running Linux in the short term, and maybe even containers in the long term. But really, that opens up that OT environment for ransomware and other security risks, right? Which we have to mitigate through best practices, and probably using something like IEC 62443 to make sure that as we digitize, we also mitigate some of these security risks. But what I think TX1 really brings is a very comprehensive protection methodology, where it does the traditional firewalling and intrusion detection, intrusion, how can I say this, antivirus also on the shop floor, and really gives you the capability to run on very old legacy systems, and where you put firewalls down or IPS or IDS and an asset can't be patched, then there's a virtual patching capability that actually runs into this platform, which is really, really cool. And then also the technology is made to be inbound, but if they fail, traffic doesn't get stopped, right? So there's all the equipment is all made in such a fashion that even if there's a failure of the physical device, the packets will still move over that specific appliance. So it won't stop your production traffic if something goes wrong. And on the shop floor, everything is about assets, right? So it does help that there's a asset inventory system that can help our customers with change management over time. Looking at a specific asset, and you can see vulnerabilities over time. Sometimes you probably won't patch these vulnerabilities because it will affect your downstream process, and there's too much planning that goes into it. But it gives you the capability to look at that vulnerability history. It gives you the capability to look at that asset history. And if you're running a engineering workstation or a HMI, you can even look at patches and applications over a time frame, which I think is really important. And then some of the key things that we're going to focus on today is just like the network visibility, asset and vulnerability management, the CPS detection, cyber physical systems, and then also the cyber physical system anomaly detection and management, and then also the vulnerability services attached to that. This is what the asset vulnerability view looks like. And the vulnerability detection system basically works with the H1 platform. And you've got a manager that plugs into the different firewalls and different switches and the different IDS and IPS systems. And later in this presentation, I'll touch a little bit about the architecture, where it actually sits in the Purdue model. And this will give us a good idea of where to place the technology. But this is what the vulnerability view looks like. Once you've put one of these appliances either in the OT zone or that production area, and you've synced it with your H1 appliance, it will give you all of the visibility of these assets and vulnerability and network traffic diagrams that actually come from that specific OT zone. So it's very important that we make sure that networking is well understood when it comes to deploying these visibility tools, right? And it's something that a lot of people don't think about, but it's absolutely critical. So this is what the dashboard looks like. So if you can think about traditional Nozomi, Dragos, Forescout, Sage 1 is pretty much a OT visibility tool that overlays on the firewalls and the IDS and the IPS systems. And it really gives you that OT visibility, which is required for vulnerability management, asset management, and also gives you the capability to look at specific risk levels and do reporting. It also plugs into the Element, Stellar, and Edge series, which what that means is it plugs into the antivirus, it plugs into the firewalls, it plugs into the IPS and the IDS, and also the USB keys that we use for USB data management on the shop floor. It also has plugs into that specific system. So why I like this platform a lot is in Sage 1, you can pick up a vulnerability, for a specific device. It will give you all of the ratings and the gradings of that specific CVE, but it will then go and it will tell you where the official patch is and what that patch actually does. So from a production perspective, you can now have a look and see what this patch is actually going to do. And then from there, you'll be able to see if you can, if you want to implement it or not, and put it into your change management process. It also then allows you to do a virtual patch. What that means is it will tell you what the IPS patterns are that you need to design or need to change for you to be able to mitigate that specific risk. This is what it would look like. It would tell you that the policy that you need to enforce consists of TCP specific ports that need to be blocked from source to IP. And effectively, once you've implemented this policy, it will be impossible for threat actors to be able to exploit that system using that CVE. Lastly, this is what it looks like. It just shows you the IP address and the specific ports that it speaks out for. And before you actually adjust the policy, it allows you to have a look at it. This is where you put the technology in the Purdue model. So at level 4, level 5, or close to the DMZ, you would put your Sage 1 equipment. You also have your safe port, which is the appliance, which you can take a external USB, put it into one of these ports, and then you would use the little Element 1 portable inspector to move the data from an unknown untrusted device to a known trusted device, which is scanned for malware, antivirus, and supply chain problems, which means when you take data to the shop floor, you know that that USB key is clean and it's working a charm. So when we look at the rest of the technology, the antivirus or Stellar 1 EDR and the Stellar 1 management console runs on level 3. So that normally sits on your maintenance server, your historian, your management console, and even some of your engineering workstations sitting at level 3. Your IPS and IDS can also be installed at this level. And then at level 2, you would normally have your Stellar, also your IPS Pro and your Stellar 1, but you can really pull the technology all the way down to level 1 if that's required to give you additional visibility. The Edge firewalls helps you with conduiting and zoning, and it really gives you the capability to make sure that traffic stays within a specific OT zone, which is really cool. So here's my details. If you need anything from my perspective, please feel free to reach out. If you want to have a demo or a presentation on TXONE around the value that brings on the shop floor or the rugged environment, please reach out and we'll do that as soon as we can. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.